While you're waiting for that to dry, you can familiarize yourself and line up the pieces for the next step. And we have to cut a spacer. Now this says it has a YouTube channel. I could not get it to come up, so I will show you how to cut a spacer. It can be an old gift card, or this is a piece of a milk carton. All it needs to be is thick enough to create some space and plastic so that the glue won't stick to it. We are going to be cutting about 1/4 of an inch space that will allow the dowel to go on and keep the glue from coming to the next part, because there's 1 or 2 parts we don't want the glue to stick to. So to cut that, you will make 2 cuts about 1/4 of an inch apart, and then cut straight across, and then test it to make sure that it's the right width for the dowel. The dowel should easily move, but not be so much space that the glue can get through. Should be kind of like that, so that the glue won't touch the moving part. You can line up your pieces like it says in the book. Number 7, number 8, and number 6. So we've got 7 is short, 8 is medium, and 6 is the longest one. The longest one will be used for the crank. Another thing that might be helpful at this time is to check your connections, making sure that these parts that you glued are sticking. If they're not, you might need to add a little bit more glue to make sure that they stay put when we move the mechanisms. We will also be taking out the ones we just put in to align the pieces. So we're going to start at this spot. If you're ready for the next step, you take number 7 and it's going to go in the top slot. Number 8, the medium-sized one, will go in this slot. And number 6, the longest one, will go in this slot. Should look like that. Then we are going to put glue on these 2. Just like in the instructions, we've got glue going on here, and then we're going to put on a washer, glue going on here, and put on a washer. So we'll put the glue on all the way around. And it's okay if you get it on the other piece of wood that is next to, because these do not have to move. So I'm going to put that glue on those 2 spots and slide on a washer. These will hold the dowel in place. This one's a little tight. You just have to force it on. You might have to wiggle it back and forth to get it to go on. So it should look like that for those 2. Now the next one, we're going to attach our cam. And this is the moving part. We don't want it to get stuck to the frame. So we're going to put on some glue. We want it to stick to the dowel, but we don't want it to stick to the frame. So we're going to slide that on. And you might want to turn it as you slide it to get the glue to distribute inside. But we want space between, we want our little spacer in there between the moving part and the frame. This is what we don't want it to stick to. We want it to stick to the dowel, but not to the frame. And we'll set that aside to dry. Tells us to wait a little bit, let that dry, and that is page 3. Once the glue has dried, we are going to put on whichever animal that you have. First, you need to check the movement of your mechanism. You can remove your spacer, and you want to make sure that the mechanism moves easily. If it does not move easily, you're going to have to force it a little bit to break the glue seal, but it should move pretty easily, like this. Once you know that your piece moves, you're going to be putting on your animal. It should slide easily onto the cam and the top dowel, whether it's the elephant or the lion. And it's just going to rest on this dowel. It's going to be moving back and forth as this moves, and you can check the movement by just twisting your dowel. Later we'll add the handle, which will make it move more easily. If you're not doing the lion, you might be doing the monkey. And again, it moves along that dowel and this cam. Or the whale. This one's already assembled, but it moves along that cam and along that dowel. All right, so we've checked our movement, and then we're going to put on our animal. Then the next step is the foreground, which is either water or grass. It will also fit on the cam, and it'll fit on this dowel down here. And you can see the movement of how it follows those cams, this cam and these dowels when it is turned. That's the reason it's important that this piece moves. Now we're going to put on the washer that will keep those in place. So we'll put this on here. We can test it first to make sure that it fits well. Then you're going to put glue. You can put the glue on the inside of this, like so, all the way around, so we get an equal distribution of glue. You want a good amount of glue because this has to hold everything in place. Then we want to, oh, and also you do not want any glue on this piece, the animal piece, or the ground or water piece. They have to freely move, so you don't want any glue on those. You can see it in the instructions where it says no glue, no glue, glue. So we'll get these all put together, and then we'll take our last piece. Gotta keep it all assembled and turn it so you can see it. And we're going to put that piece on. Make sure that it gets lots of glue on there and let it dry. You'll notice that there is space between, there's a lot of space here and it's loose. These can be very loose. They're going to follow that cam, but we don't want them to get stuck to the cam. And this has to be on this dowel. So that is page 5. Page 6, we're going to put a little washer to hold that part of the piece together, right here. So we'll put some glue, and you can leave a little bit of space again so that it has a little bit of flexibility of where it can move. And we'll put the glue on, and we'll put a number 4 washer on like that. And it has a little bit of space between those washers. So it can be flexible. There can be space. Now we're going to put on number 11 and number 10 into these slots. This part is a little bit tricky because we put the glue on the board that's already there, even with the holes. So we're going to apply the glue. Here, put on plenty of glue because it's got to hold the whole structure together. Make sure your elephant or lion or whale are in the right place. Then we're going to put the number 10 in the back. You put it on the dowel, and then you have to slide it into that slot so that it fits into the hole. It might be a little bit tight to get that turn in. So you're going to put it on the dowel, line it up with the hole, and push it into that slot. It's a little bit tight, but we want to make sure that it gets in the slot properly. And it should go all the way through and be flush with the bottom. You can set it down and push on it to make sure that it stays where it's supposed to be. Then it will look like that. That is all the way through part 9. Then it says to wait a minute for it to dry.